welcome to Season 3, Episode 2 of Tech Talk Thursday. My guest this week is a well-known industry veteran and IPC Hall of Famer. Gene Weiner has produced this year's Managers Forum at IPC Apex's virtual event. This year, the Managers Forum crosses the entire supply chain with presentations from the captains of industry in PCB manufacturing, EMS assembly, and supply chain logistics. It really is an impressive lineup. And here to tell us about it is the man himself, Gene Weiner. Hello, my guest today is Gene Weiner, one of the most experienced gentlemen, I should say, in the industry. Covers the whole spectrum from PCB through EMS and, of course, even the supply chain. He's had a very varied career, some of which we can talk about. Isn't that right, Gene?
Yes, that's right. Good morning and good afternoon to you, since we're having both across the Atlantic River.
Yes. So you've just to give our viewers a very quick recap on your background in the industry. You started out, of course, way back in the days of Shipley, the chemistry company.
Actually, just before that, I started out as a student technician at MIT Lincoln Laboratories, where I made the first print-wired memory plane and co-authored plated electrical connections for cordwood packaging while I was in engineering school. And then Shipley followed that. I went there because they were one of my suppliers, and I said, oh, this company's going to go somewhere, and I went and asked for a job.
Right. And then along the road, you ended up as CEO of Exelon, the drilling company. And your latest one, I believe, was WKK. You've been on the board of WKK, the Hong Kong.
Actually, Exelon, I was never CEO of. We had a good relationship. I was on their advisory board under one of their presidents. And then I wound up in the board of directors of WKK, another large public chemical company, on the advisory board of a number of others, on the board of directors of a French supplier, and so forth. And I'm still active, working as a director or advisory director.
Great. Okay, so today we're here to actually talk about the upcoming IPC Apex virtual event. And you're responsible for organizing the Managers Forum, which this year is going to be the theme of managing change in a period of transition. Tell us a little bit about the Management Forum, the Managers Forum, and who it's aimed at.
Well, the Management Forum is aimed at middle managers and newly emerging managers that have to face heretofore unforeseen circumstances and record changes and challenges due to COVID-19 and trade barriers and trade wars. And it was my belief that there has not been a program from top down from companies that have survived and found techniques of getting through this and looking to the future, to factory of the future, to F2, as we say, or some people say factory 4.0. And so I said, well, let's put together a complete link from top to bottom and bottom to top, covering starting from the OEM that have survived and done well and have established methods of operating in the new world as it is, and supply chain disruptions all the way down to the suppliers of fabricators, including specialty chemicals and equipment, paste, and so forth. And so we put this together. I interviewed a lot of people. We put together a committee. My vice chairman is Jack Fisher, who once built the IBM printed circuit facility in Austin and is very active now on the high-density packaging group. And it works well. We've brought people in all the way up and down the line, hopefully to help all of these new young managers and existing managers go forward and deal with the digital world, as I say, coming up rapidly. In fact, it's already here. And hope to show these people how to enter it, even though they may not have the funding or resources that the big companies have.
Right. Well, that's a key point, actually. I mean, this, the big boys have pretty much taken care of themselves, but there's a lot of smaller companies out there that really need that help. But you've got a really, really impressive lineup here of people, as you say, going across the spectrum. So give us some of the highlights of who's going to be presenting.
Well, first we're going to start off with the Vice President of Government Relations, Chris Mitchell, who's going to bring us up to date with what the future looks like economically and business-wise for in Washington, D.C., with the new administration after a month or two of changes that we're sure to see. And we're going to follow that then with a joint program with the EMS group, chaired by the chairman of the management group, which will include have a panel for talking about how they survived the crisis, including Jeannie Wade, who's the Vice President of Operations Northrop Grumman and a member of the Board of Directors of the IPC, Brad Bourne, President, CEO of FTG for Technology, a fabricator, John Roundtree, Group Vice President Rogers, a material supplier, Dave Patterson, Surtronics, a mid-size or smaller EMS company in the Northeast, Jeannie Wade, of course, of Northrop Grumman as an OEM, and a component manufacturer from Arrow. This will be followed by one of my favorites. It's the Harold Arnott, president of Aditech Electronics. A lot of people don't realize that Aditech in metal finishing and in electronic supplies to ICs as well as printed circuits is a $1+ billion global company with thousands of workers and one of the more innovative companies. And we are delighted that Harold has agreed to address our group in talking about technical support and product development in a post-pandemic world. Now, that's all good, but unless you have a customer to sell all that to, you don't know what to do with it. So then we're introducing Anaya Varja, who's president and CEO of American Standard Circuits, who has weathered this quite well and has become moved very rapidly into the digital world, actually putting out digital handbooks and courses via the internet to its customers, prospects, and suppliers, and is also very active in evaluating new technology from a number of suppliers, including specialty chemicals for metallizing boards for fine lines and so forth. After that, we're going in to say, okay, let's move up just a bit and look at Industry 4.0, or the Factory of the Future, F2, and what do medium-sized companies do? How do they upskill their workers? How do they train their workers? What are they faced with? How does a smaller company deal with AI, artificial intelligence? So for that, we have Norman Weiss, Weiss, as he would say, from Munich, he lives in München, Director of Maritime and Strategic Systems and Procurement Management. He's a founder of the German Industry 4.0 campus, as well as an EMS company. And along with him, Sebastian Schall is the founder of Illuminovo GmbH, which is an AI company helping smaller EMS companies move into the digital world, to help explain to the medium and smaller EMS company how they can do this, how they can train their people, how they can move forward to the digital world. After this, we're talking about new production and a change in we see coming back again to the old days of vertical integration. And believe it or not, we're seeing this around the world, not just here, partly because of the problems created by the shortages due to the trade dispute and COVID-19, but also because of the rapid change into new technologies requiring speed to market and additional security, so to speak, for designs and fabrication of initial things and development of new processes. And I mean new processes and equipment.
A pioneer in thermal monitoring and analysis technology, ECD's portfolio of mole thermal profilers are synonymous with quality and reliability. Recognizing that each manufacturing situation is unique, ECD's line of mole products addresses various manufacturing requirements and future needs.
So who's vertically integrating? Is it OEMs are bringing it back in, or is it the CEMs are integrating with the PCB fab people and that type of thing?
Well, depends on how you define OEM and EMS. We saw a major printed circuit fabrication high-tech installation this year by Benchmark in Arizona. Now, what is Benchmark? It's an ODM, it's an EMS, it's one of the big boys. Now, then we've also seen a number of smaller ones. And then we look at Vicor, which we'll start back at the beginning. Weyland Engineering, which makes parts, searchlights and ambulances and vehicles for helicopters and so forth. They integrated backwards with a printed circuit facility, Greenfield, several years ago, about 5-6 years ago, then rebuilt a new factory with for more advanced processing, for flexible, for HDI, for build-up circuitries, and they brought in Alex Stupinski for this, who then said, well, we vertically integrated the fabrication facility, but we should really vertically integrate our equipment suppliers. So they bought AWP in Poland and upgraded their equipment, and then from there, several of their customers came to them and said, well, we want to vertically integrate. And one of those is a major supplier of digital and modular power supplies globally, Vicor. And another is Schweitzer Engineering Laboratory. So Vicor can be termed an OEM, but he can also be termed a middle thing. Where does he fit into that? He'll describe that. And they're building a new plant from the ground up in Andover, Mass. It was Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories had a need, and they'll explain it. They're building a ground up greenfield facility in Moscow, Idaho, 180,000 square feet. And they'll describe all that. So we see a transition from integrating internally to then vertically integrating to your supply, then vertically integrating outward to your customers. A very unusual transition. And also we're going to learn an awful lot from that.
Yeah, there's also some evidence of EMS companies bringing the back-end packaging, putting clean rooms into the factories as well. So that's a growing trend also.
And we also have Northrop Grumman, a couple of their senior directors of supply chain management and risk analysis explained to us how they handled the change, what they went through, how they analyzed it, what steps they took, how they evaluated the risks. And we're going to learn a lot about second sourcing, rapid movement, better inventory control, and so forth. And this is something that all of us can learn from the smaller guys. They're going to teach the little guys what the big guys did to avoid a problem. Now, Northrop Grumman is extremely critical to national defense and to the military in this country, too.
Well,
and they could not afford a shutdown.
Yeah, it's an interesting area, that, because there are quite a few flags up at the moment with component shortages, semiconductor shortages in the market, and also people trying to avoid necessarily sourcing from China. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes and no. What we have from them is we have their the director of, we'll say in General Dynamics, we have the director of Maritime and Strategic Systems Procurement and the supply chain risk senior manager from General Dynamics talking to us about this. And they're going to talk to us about how they manage their critical supply for critical missions and for daily production, how they analyzed it, what problems they encountered, how they solved them, what they considered important and not. And I think we're all going to point to a new way of managing second source or regional supply chains. And we're going to see the regional supply chain business really grow all up and down, from component to raw material. And I don't know exactly what they're going to say, but the outline and abstracts they sent in are fascinating, and I've learned a few lessons from those just reading the abstracts.
Okay. Well, it's interesting because, I mean, one of the growth industries during COVID has been these companies that are doing online sourcing systems where you can actually see what the availability is in real time at the component manufacturer's facility and be able to get real-time costing and real-time availability, as it were. There's been quite a growth in that.
They're going to show quite a bit there. I think without the digital twin, other methods of using digital control and AI for controlling inventory supply chain, where every component is at every moment and so forth. It's fascinating.
It's a very rapidly evolving area. That and also it's part of that whole journey is to reduce the the counterfeits and the issues we've had in that as well. So there's a lot happening in that space at the moment with security and everything else.
And it's happening around the world. And, there's a lot going on over your side of the world, especially in Germany right now, and that with advances there and the government involvement and the military involvement too with upskilling and training with Mittelstand campus. It's fascinating.
Interesting. Okay, so looking at your management forum here, where can people find information about the lineup for the 8th of March, which is the day that the event's going to be on?
Go to the website, and you can either go to the IPC Apex Expo 2021 and look for Management Forum. You can register there. You'll have the updated outline there. They're updating it daily, I believe. My part's pretty much done until the event. Everything's in good shape. And I look forward to hearing what these gentlemen and ladies have. And by the way, you'll notice that we have a very large group of senior people, men and women, from the entire supply chain there. And I just look forward to what they're going to teach us. The abstracts are fascinating. The backgrounds of these people are wonderful. They're well qualified, accomplished people, and they're world leaders. And we all can stand to learn a lot from them.
Absolutely. Well, Gene, you're a mine of information yourself, and I couldn't think of anybody better to pull together this very impressive lineup. So congratulations on that job alone, and we wish you every success with the Managers Forum at Apex. Thank you.
Well, we like to say in Washington, D.C., I think it's in the Library of Congress, there's engraved in granite the expression, "The past is but a prelude to the future." I like to think that means you ain't seen nothing yet. Have a great day, and see you at the expo. Okay, virtually.
Yeah, thank you.